YouTube? How is it going? I hope all is well. We're doing a very, very impromptu, well, we're going to call it a live stream today. Bear with me. I'm trying to pull up all the fun stuff at the moment. More or less what it's come down to is that I have to do this, so that's all there is to it. I'm going to try to get all my stuff together while maybe one or two of you kind of get in on this. Hold on while I get involved with my own self. I hope everybody's doing well, by the way. There we go. Come on. We can do this, you and I. Sorry. I'm having a tough time. Let's see here. I got a notification for myself, and then of course it doesn't actually allow me to go and see myself, so you know, whatever. So I hope everybody's doing well. So as you can see, we've made some progress on this guy. I haven't really posted any videos on it yet. There will be a video more directed directly towards this, of course. Objectively, as I mentioned, this is a giveaway amp, so you know, somebody's going to have to win this thing. And I'm going to be honest and say that there's only one watching right now. It's probably me. Let's see here if I can get somebody. Come on, show me the good stuff. Sorry, I'm new to this whole live thing, by the way. So I'm still kind of learning how all this crap works, to be honest. There it is. I think I can do this now. I think I can do this. I can see that I'm in there. I don't want the description. I kind of actually just want to watch the live videos. I'm not worried about that. I want to see the stream. Hold on. Maybe I can do it from here directly. Maybe I just need to actually do some work. Oh boy. Let's see here. YouTube live control panel. Let's see if that actually shows me anything. Doubtful. Doubtful. Okay, so it shows me that, but that's not what I want to see. It shows that there's one concurrent viewer. Let me see if I can... Hold on. Bear with me. Yeah, I don't need this. This isn't doing me any good. This is like the one time OBS didn't like... reset docks, no. Full height, lock docks. I don't need all that crap. This is like the one time that it didn't prompt me for all kinds of fun stuff. But in either case, I guess it doesn't really matter. We're just gonna play this and go full screen, and maybe I can catch some actual stuff here. Bear with me. I'm waiting for more viewers anyway, so there's only one watching, so it's not like it's doing me any good. I'll tell you what, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go deep into my own stuff. Come on now. We're gonna go to my live channel. And it's not gonna show me my own stuff. Come on. I wanna view my channel. I wanna see my live. Yep, I see that. That's so weird. The other day when I did this, it was like right frickin' there. So here's what I'm gonna do. This might be a little weird. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm gonna watch myself on YouTube elsewhere. As soon as I get this thing to come up, because I know I can watch it over here. Just bear with me. Yes, that's the washer and dryer going in the background. That's how impromptu this is. We have to do this, so I'm gonna do this. That's all there is to it. Let's see here. Andy, you better not be live right now either, by the way. Just saying. You should probably have gotten my message and come on over here. Okay, we're gonna delete that. Hey, we got internet money in the house. All right. Okay, good. I'm finally caught up with my junk here, and we can actually do something about what's going on here. So, Internet Money, actually, you are kind of the one that has prompted this whole thing. So, I got an email from Internet Money, and I can tell you a story about how he got that email. Somebody I've done some work with in the past is, well, let me go a little bit deeper. I can go deeper. We can make this correct here, so I don't screw up any names. So I'm just gonna go to my email thread so I don't mess anything up. So Bob Shell, I'm assuming is his name. If I apologize, Bob, if I'm not pronouncing it correctly, but Bob Schell or Bob Shell of he makes handles and all that fun stuff for amplifiers, and I'm drawing a blank right now because, you know, that's just me at the moment. But I feel so bad right now. This is how impromptu it is. So I have a video, and I have a big old thank you for him, but hold on, we have to pull this up, so I'm not gonna screw this up anymore. Hold on, just bear with me, everybody. I'm doing some due diligence. Brookwood leather, there it is. Finally, holy cow! It's drawing a blank. So Brookwood leather. He's the one who provided me with some handles and some other fun stuff for another project that I did a while ago. And I want to work with him some more. I'm trying to convince him to make the amp corners. He doesn't make the amp corners currently, and he's driven me to a couple other different places to get them that I'm not happy with. There's only one place, count it, one, on Etsy that I've been able to get corners and handles from that are matching, and that's my big thing, is that I want matching. So Bob, please, pretty please make me corners. I'm gonna convince him somehow or another, because honest to God, Bob makes the best handles, hands down. The handles that I've been using a little bit lately, I only have them on a couple of my amps. They're great handles. I like the way they're designed. It's useful, but they also make the corners, and that's the big thing for me, is that they make the corners so I can have matching leather to the corners of the handle. So the handle and the corners will match, and that's a big deal for me. So I'm going to get Bob to make me these corners. He doesn't know it yet, but he's going to do it. So Internet Money went ahead and got a hold of Bob to get in touch with me. Very clever. That means he was paying attention, because he went through all of my other videos to see that I had this huge thing about Bob, but with Brookwood leather. So I'm going to tell you right now, if you're looking for a leather handle and you want the best there can possibly be, you got to go to Brookwood Leathers. He's out of, oh gosh, it's not Kentucky, is it? I could be wrong. Hold on, let me get my stuff in a row here. He's on the gear page. He's on Facebook. You can find him just about everywhere, so you have no excuse not to be able to find him. I can't remember. He's on the East Coast somewhere, more or less. Killer character, really nice guy, and he makes some of the best handles and leather work that I've gotten to ever work with. The only downside is that the handles that he creates. Hold on, I got one here. So this is one of the handles that I purchased from him, and you can kind of get an idea here of what I'm talking about. These are they're handmade, obviously. They're made in America. I should have just grabbed this first. So Brookwood leather, he stamps it, and you can kind of see how his design is. He's got this piece down here on the bottom. This is the Alpha Dog. Now the only downer is that this handle, once you get it bent into the shape that you need, you can't flatten it out because there's not enough space in here. So the other company that I work with takes this piece right here, what I call a bolster, and they place it in between these outer two layers here. Now, there's a downer to that. The downside to placing them in between the folds of these guys here is that the outer seam is now outside, right? So the seam is on the outside, which means it's not as strong. It makes sense, right? So he does it this way because this is the strongest handle that you could possibly get. So sorry, I need to catch up on stuff. Internet money, I apologize because you're the only one here and you're the only one. We're basically having an A/B conversation at the moment, and I need to be paying attention over there to the other stream. Yes, you told me it is Bob, and it's because you reached out to him that you know that. What am I sipping on today? We are enjoying some Buffalo Trace. I'm sorry, I'm trying to talk over the top of my washer and dryer that are full blast right now. Buffalo Trace. I am a bourbon guy. If you want to win my heart, find a way to get in touch with me, such as Internet Money has, and I will never say no to bourbon. I am a bourbon guy, so that is what we're having today. Cheers to that. You can probably tell already. I'm a little loose at the moment. I'm loose. I only drink on days that end in Y, just FYI, and I only drink when I'm working on amplifiers. It's part of the thing, and I work on amplifiers quite a bit. Yes, Buffalo Trace is great. I'm sorry again. I apologize if I'm lagging behind by at least a minute or two. I am still figuring out this whole live thing, so I'm not going to try to turn this into a super long video today. More or less, Internet Money, I'm talking to you, and you're the reason that this video came about. But things need to be said, things need to be put out there in the world, and there are some things that need to be understood. Clearly, I love Brookwood leather. He doesn't know it yet. Bob, you are going to make me corners for my amplifiers because I need this level of quality in a handle that is also going to have matching corners for my amplifiers. There's only one other company, as I mentioned. They are on Etsy, and they make a similar design to this, but they take this bolster piece and they put it in the in-between. So fold this in half, put this in between, and that's where they put it. Which means that it is weaker because the seam is on the outside. It is not tucked away in between two solid, uncut pieces of leather. But they're just not quite as nice as these. All in all, it's a little bit thinner, and they're not quite as nice. They're very good, don't get me wrong, but price to quality ratio, Bob at Brookwood Leather has it hands down. So just do not, if all you care about is getting a handle for your amp and you don't need matching corners, Bob's got you, hands down. So go his direction. I'll try to put, I'll amend this later and put a link in the doobly-doo. So Buffalo Trace actually does a lot of things. I think they bottle a couple different, Eagle Rare. Eagle Rare is also a very, very good bourbon whiskey if you're into that. I think they're the ones that actually bottle that, but Eagle Rare is one of my favorites. Just saying. So, Internet Money. I kind of knew you were in the military. What branch are you in? Just, I'm asking out of curiosity. My brother's in the Air Force. He's in the gay force, excuse me. I mean, he's in the Air Force. I tease. I love all branches of military. My grandfather was in the Air Force. My other both my grandparents were in the military forces. One of them was in the Air Force and the other one was in the Navy. I don't have any that were in the Army. I believe my uncle also went to the Navy. Army. All right. So I know somebody in the Army. I have several friends. I have one that was, his name is Nathan. He's in the Marines. I almost went to the Marines. I was this close. There's two reasons why I didn't go into the military services. One, I knew that I was not going to be able to handle being yelled at. Not that I would get upset by them yelling at me, more that I knew I would laugh at them yelling at me. It's not that I have a thing against authority. I love authority to some degree. I just can't what's the word for it? Like, I don't need that kind of level of direction, I guess. Like, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And I'm going to do what I do because it's, noble, I guess, in a way. Or I don't know, whatever it is. So when somebody's, like, yelling at me to do something, it's just kind of, like, funny to me. Like, it's amusing in a way because I'm going to do it. But I don't need you to yell at me to do it. I don't know. So I just knew that I wasn't going to be a good fit. Now, hindsight being 2020, it's probably one of those things I probably should have done. However, I can tell you right now that I would not be in this very location at this very moment in time doing the things that I have done in my lifetime to get me where I'm at currently to this day. And I am the most grateful mofo on this planet because I am in such a place right now where I can build something like this that I can give away. There are going to be several jealous people. I can tell you that right now. There are going to be jealous people. So, and it's still just you and me. I don't know. So I'm not an overachiever necessarily. Like, I'm not all about getting the grade. I don't care about accolades. I'm the quintessential Gen X in that regard, where I do not require anybody standing over my shoulder saying, great job. In fact, if I don't hear anything at all, I start to get a little bit worried, but it doesn't bother me. It's just that I'm like, okay, I'd rather have somebody say that freaking sucks than not hear anything at all, because it's never good enough. It can always be better. Which is probably why I am as anal retentive as I am about certain things. And that's why I've learned how to do a lot of the things that I have done the way that I have done them. I've been a sound engineer for 25 years. And as you probably know, for most musicians, sound engineers are on a different level of weird. Most of them are dickheads. Most of them are anal retentive. Most of them are narcissistic. I'm not any different, but most of them kind of have like this little bit of a God complex. And it has something to do with the traits. And it's one of those traits that I was able to let go of that has gotten me where I've gotten today. And it's that level of perfection. And some of the greatest sound engineers on the planet are where they are at because they cannot and will not allow anything to screw them in the butthole. Which is to say that they will do anything and everything to make sure that anything that they want to have happen can and will happen, despite your feelings, despite anything, really. I mean, it just really comes down to the greatest of great sound engineers are absolute assholes. They only care about what is going to get them the absolute best result that they can possibly get, because failure is not an option. And in a lot of cases, failure is not an option. There is nothing worse than doing sound for a high-end corporation. I'm talking like Nestle, Mike's Hard Lemonade, Belltone Labs, etc., etc. The list goes on and on and on and on and on, where they're doing a sales summit and there's 2,500 people that they are talking to, the CEO, the CIO, whatever the C-level alphabet guy is, it's up on the stage at that moment in time. There is absolutely nothing worse than nobody being able to hear them, having feedback come through, etc., etc., etc. That's why the guys that are doing that kind of stuff are the way they are, is because they cannot fail. So they drive things in a direction where perfection is the only way around it. It makes them unbearable to work with, though. I have found a way to master what I believe is the balance between making it fun and still making it right. For me, live is live. It's this blip in time. It's infinitesimal, right? Like this is the mindset. I'm going into Storyland here. Basically, we're just drawing this out because why? We're talking stories. So this is me. We're talking about how I become to where I'm at here with this. So as that sound guy, I've learned how to balance between absolute perfection versus making it fun. It still has to be fun. At the end of the day, it needs to be fun, period. If it's not fun, it's not worth doing, and anything worth doing is worth doing right. That's one of my sayings. And there you have it, right? I mean, that pretty much sums it all up for me. If it's not fun, it's not worth doing. but if it's worth doing, it's worth doing right. So you can kind of get the idea. So that's how I managed to get where I got in the audio world, is that I was loose around the edges, around the fringes where it really mattered the most, where the 1%ers were living. I was okay not being there. It wasn't my goal. I didn't want to be that guy. I would have loved to done sound for Tool or something like that. That was like initially my goal, was to be like the sound engineer for Tool or something like that. But I learned after a few years that wasn't going to happen, because they probably already know the guy that they're going to have doing sound for them. And again, everything is always a 1%ers club. And being that everything's a 1%ers club, I'm not trying to get in it. I don't need it. It's not about the recognition. I could care less. So it was like, okay, I'm going to do this because I love to do it. How can I continue to love to do it for as long as I can? And that is where I ended up coming into this. Because I love doing sound so much, I was able to get to a level of doing it where I was able to see the 1%ers at work and know that I wasn't going to be that, didn't care to be that, didn't want to be that. And I found my way into the 90th percentile or something like that. That top 10%, right? I got to do the cool stuff, the coolest of the cool, and work with the names that everybody knows. But I'm not the guy that's on the roster, you know, with the accolades and stuff like that. So that's all there is to that. So let's go back a little ways now, just to, I don't know. I was going somewhere with that, to be honest, but, you know. So again, it's again about being just fun in general. I know where I was going to go. It was about COVID. So when COVID came around, that was a kick in the pants just for about anybody in the entertainment industry. Internet Money, give me a shout out if you're still with me. I noticed that there hasn't been any new posts coming up, and I don't know if it's me or not. So I was not set up in such a way where I was COVID proof, and I'm using my quotation fingers because obviously a lot of different brands and companies and everyone else kind of failed during COVID, right? But I knew that okay, good. Somebody's at least still here. No, not everybody needs to be an eccentric genius. And it's not about that. I didn't care about it. It was never really about the recognition or anything for me. So it was still just about having the fun aspect of it. Like, the 1%ers were absolute, how can you put it? I got to see the lifestyle that they had. Like, I lived in the same boxes that they did, right? I traveled on the same planes. I traveled in the same buses, went to the same hotels. I did all the same stuff as them. I just wasn't the one in the number one position, right? But it's, you know, when you're off on the fringes a little bit and you get to be a little loose around the edges. Hey, what's going on, Carno? You get to live vicariously, I guess, but you can kind of just see some of the challenges that they had in life. Like, they're just not happy. They're not as happy. Like, everything is all about that, you know, that little 0.1% that makes the difference to everyone else that's paying the big bucks. And it's like, okay, I don't care about money. Does not move me. If you haven't figured it out yet, I am not moved by money. I could care less about the dollar. Yes, I make money. Obviously, we all need money, but that is not, you're not going to convince me with something. You can throw $1 million at me and I will let it bounce off my chest and walk away, and I'll be okay with it. So I'm all about being just a little bit better than the next guy, but I do not care to be the best of the best. But I do have there are some anal retentive tendencies that I have. Building amps is kind of one of them. I'm really, really, really hard on myself, and I really, really try, knowing that there's no way in hell it can ever be perfect. So it can't be perfect. And I think I talked about it in another video, or maybe I was going to mention it and I didn't bring it up. But the Chumash Indians, like, they would always put a flaw purposely in their artwork because they knew they weren't perfect. So they understood that they can't be perfect, and they will never be, because obviously they're paying homage to their god or whatnot. But I'm not that spiritual about it, but perfection for me is like an end goal. It's like the end zone or whatnot. But you can get pretty dang close and still make the play of the game, right? You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to freaking score the goal to be the MVP necessarily. So I guess that's all there is to it. But going back to COVID, COVID was just rough on the music industry in general. And I had my entire year like figured out. I knew exactly how much I was going to make. I knew everything. Like, it was all dialed in. I had pretty much an entire year worth of jobs lined up, booked out, ready to go. And on a flight back from Mississippi, I got about half a dozen phone calls. And when I landed in LAX that afternoon or that evening, I was pretty much jobless. So I went from a 6-figure income to a 0-figure income, literally on a flight from Mississippi to LAX. That is how quick things can go. Fuck you, right? So it was interesting because I landed, I got home, I checked all my messages, got through all my emails, and it was just kind of like, oh, you know, this kind of sucks. This is like actually starting to hit for real. You know, meanwhile, the wife, while I was in Mississippi, saying like, dude, the shelves at all the stores are emptying of TP. I didn't get any. I was like, I don't understand. Like, it's freaking TP. Like, what's the freaking big deal? What's the BFD? Just go buy TP. It's not the end of the world, right? Well, 2 weeks after I get home and the realization has finally set in that I do not have any work, right? I was like literally this close. I was like 3 weeks away from throwing down money on a brand new Silverado. I was going to buy a new truck, like all this stuff. I was going to start, you know, doing adult things, and it just it wasn't going to work out. Good thing it didn't prior to the pandemic, right? Or whatever you want to call it. So luckily I had a legitimate business, so I was able to kind of take advantage of some of the loans and stuff like that. And you know, I don't know, whatever. I was able to make it through. I'm fine. There's nothing to worry about. Fast forward 8 months, I got a job as a production manager at another company that kind of did similar things to what I did. They did sound, video, lighting, and decor. I was more of a sound engineer, but you know, having done it for 15, 20 years or so by that point in time, like you know what's going on, so you're able to direct a whole crew of people. So I had a crew of 15 people underneath me that I would direct after that point to do sound, lighting, audio, and decor. Well, sound, audio are both the same thing, but sound, video, and decor, right? That thing, lighting as well. So that was only cool for a little while. A, I was making half the amount of money, and B, I was working twice the amount of time. So not fun. The wife wasn't happy with it either, so she gave me crap. And she was like, you know what? I'd rather go back to work than you have to do what you're doing. So I had a stay-at-home wife prior to that point in time. So lucky her, right? But yeah, after that, she decided, you know what? I'd rather you stay home every night and, you know, be home every night instead of traveling 3 weeks out of the month and yada, 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 et cetera, et cetera. Well, I got lucky. I was able to do that. The wife went back to work, so we were able to kind of meet in the middle somewhere. Now we're kicking butt again. You know, I'm doing all right. I'm not hurting, so I'm able to do this kind of stuff. So let's get on topic for this thing here. I'm going to tell you all right now, there's only 2 of you kind of chimed in at the moment, which is kind of shameful because that's just a testament to how unpopular I actually am. Not that I ever thought I was that popular to begin with, but hold on, I'm trying to call stuff up here because I want to see like how bad it really is. It doesn't tell me. It says there's only 1 of you watching. I know there's more than at least 1 of you. Maybe. I haven't heard from Internet Money in a while, but in either case, the point being, the whole purpose of this video is to let you know that there has literally only been 1 person that has shown any true level of interest in this amplifier, and that is Internet Money. He went out of the way to track me down via a third party, Bob Shell, that makes, of Brookwood leather fame. He went out of his way to get in touch with him. I can tell you right now, my website is actually in my YouTube page. If you go to the About Me, or what is it called? Hold on, let me open up a page here and I can tell you what it's called. I don't go there very often. I forget that I have that YouTube. I'm going to be very honest when I say I don't really realize I have a YouTube channel other than when I make these videos. So it's not exactly just apparent to me that I have like things that you can go check out and see. So when you go to the splash page of my channel, you're going to see A-Tech, subscribe for new videos, and underneath it to the left, you're going to see A-Tech and then another, mixer board image, and then you're going to see more. And I assume it's the About Me section or Discover or whatever the heck it's called. But if you hit the More button, my data is there. You can view my email address. It's not hard to find me. I do exist. Every time I think about going live and you seeing my face, I sit there and I cringe. I don't know, like I get this close to doing it, where you can actually see what I look like. No, I'm not really. I don't feel like I'm comparing myself to Andy, but so we'll come back to about my face in a minute. But so to touch on that a little bit, here's why I am enthralled with Andy. It's there, man. You have to go there. It's in the About Me thing. We'll come back to that. I'll show you. I'll send you a screenshot or something, Internet Money, now that I have your email address. So Andy and I kind of feel maybe there's a few others out there, but there's only him and I at the moment that I know of immediately that are showing you how to do this more or less in real time. More or less. Andy's literally in real time. Mine are more just kind of like videos kind of like this here, or where I show you like sped up stuff. Hold on, I'm reading the stuff. It's there. You gotta look for it. But I'll give you kudos for literally going above and beyond. We're gonna get back to you. Don't you worry. But we are the only ones showing you this kind of content and more or less original designs. So by that I mean literally no one else has done it, right? So obviously you can find all kinds of videos of how to build an 18-watt Marshall. You can find all kinds of videos on how to build a JTM 45, a JCM 800, and all these other different amplifiers. But there are none that actually show you how to build the amp that is original, that you've never seen before, never heard of before, never this, never that, none of the above, right? And there's not a lot of them that are giving away the secrets. Headfirst is one of the few that kind of gives away a little bit of the secrets, but there's still a what do you call it? Like a pay to play kind of aspect to it. Yeah, it's just there's a pay to play aspect to it. Like he sells like the kits and he sells like the information to do it, right? And Headfirst is kind of starting to get into that area where he, I should say, is up there with the guys that we kind of despise, I guess, in a little bit. Like he's in the in club, right? He talks with Dave. He talks with and I say Dave, I mean Dave Friedman. He talks with Fryette, Mr. Fryette. He's up there, right? He's doing all those types of things. Good for him. And I like the gentleman from that channel as well, Headfirst. Like I think he's a genuine guy, and he's not a piece of crap, right? He doesn't have a history that most people would look at and go like, I don't want to associate with that guy, right? But it's still, I mean, he's still doing PCB, I think, for his actual builds. Headfirst, that is, and he's more or less just doing copies of other amps. He's doing Arredondo, Jose Arredondo, and all that kind of stuff, like modifications based literally on that stuff. He's almost literally doing the exact same thing that Dave Friedman does. I don't really have anything personal against Dave Friedman. I just know that my apprehension to him is more about like how he treats and how he kind of undermines his, not his clientele, but his fan base, right? You know, he gets somebody like me that's like, hey man, how do I grow my small amp company and make, you know, and get into the game, right? And he's like, make pizzas. Like literally that's what he told this guy. Nothing constructive whatsoever. Make pizzas. And it's just disheartening. It's not genuine. It's basically just, I don't know. It's like, I'm in the 1% club. Go fuck yourself. Like literally that's what it feels like. It's like, I'm here. You're down there. Stay down there because you're never going to get up here because I'm Dave fucking Friedman, right? Go make pizzas. You're better off making pizzas. Literally, that's like the mentality of it. I didn't like that. That kind of upset me a little bit. And then they do all these tone talk videos, and again, he never actually discloses anything that's useful to you. There's no secrets. There's no anything that gets you from being an interested character to being somebody that can just build these things and come up with the ideas out of your brain, right? That's where I'm trying to get you guys, is to where you can envision this stuff in your head and do it yourself. I am kind of more or less freely showing my stuff without giving it away, like without literally throwing it in your lap. Here's the schematic. Here's all the stuff. Here's how exactly how you do it, verbatim. You know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, yada yada yada, right? Without literally doing that, it's here. If you pause the videos long enough, you'll be able to kind of figure it out. There's nothing hidden. I make it literally so that you can see all the values of every freaking component on the board. Like, I do not hide anything. There's no goop, none of that kind of crap. So, hold on, let me get back to the comments here a little bit. You know, I don't, yeah, right? Like, yeah, like the guy that told him to walk today when he was going to get the brake pads and stuff like that. Like, there's nothing worse than somebody that just doesn't understand the plight, like, or doesn't respect, like, the underclass. Let's just say it's underclass. I'm not above anybody. I am still learning. Every time I build an amp, there's always something else that I'm learning, I'm figuring out, right? I learn, okay, I'm never going to do this crap again where I have these extra turrets for the wires to come off. Internet money, you are a lucky mofo, because I am making this so this is a future-proof amp, if you will. But this is the highest number of turrets I've ever put on any given amp in my entire life. And you can't see it, but hold on, let me see if I can scooch them out here without screwing them up. But there they are. These are all jumpers that I have to put in there. I have never had that many jumpers in my entire life for an amp this simple. I will never do it again, by the way. I thought it would be kind of cool to do this and make it so, it was easier to work on in the future. Truth be told, I know that once I build the things, it's going to work for the next 20, 30 years. And, the guy that's going to have to do any kind of work on it is going to appreciate the level of work that I've done to begin with. I'm not worried about it. I'm never putting this many freaking turrets on my board again. Period. I might do it on a board that I am prototyping with. And in this case, it is kind of a prototype. This is one of one at the moment. It has not actually been built. So while Internet Money is the most interested character at the moment with this amplifier, I can tell you that you are interested in something that has not been proven yet, by the way. It is literally only loosely based off of a state that another amp was in at one point in time. It was just in that state at that point in time. I was not going to live with it in that state. It was like, okay, this is cool. Take some notes. We'll come back to that because this amp cannot be what this one currently is right now. So off with you, right? And that's what this one is now, is what I can recall of that particular design and how to make it as much like that as I can again. So there are things that are subject to change. I assume that there's going to be a couple turrets that probably don't look as pretty as the others because I'm going to have to change the parts at least once, maybe twice. If I'm lucky, I'll get it right the first time. I know I'm going to be very, very close, but it is a 5e3. It's not going to, it's not diverging super duper far from the Tweed Deluxe, so it'll have many of those kind of qualities. If you're into that, do stay tuned. If you're not into the 5e3 kind of thing, well, this might not be the amp for you then. And given the amount of, attention that this thing has acquired, all I can say is there's really only a couple people in the running for it at the moment. And I'm okay with that. That's great because that means somebody that actually wanted it got it. Right. And that's, I think, more important to me than just, a name in a hat that's, I'll put $20 in a hat on a whim, versus somebody that's gone out of their way to really make it so that they can take this thing home. So Internet Money, kind of going back to you, Carno, you got some work to do. Yeah, right. I keep walking. Internet Money went out of his way, got in touch with Bob Shell of Brookwood Leather to get in touch with me. And I am smitten with that. That is some gumption, right? That is some get with it attitude right there. I like that. So, and I love the military. So, and I like Internet Money. So, I mean, right now there's only one guy more or less in the running. Unless somebody else really starts saying, "Hey, what's up?" then you better get with it, because this is turning into a one-player game. And, there's only one player that does it. There's only one guy that does it better than you, than you, and that's you, right? I'm talking about. I kid. But, so here it is. It's the faceplate. As you can see, we got the Peacemaker. And I know now why Internet Money liked the Peacemaker so much. Obviously, being in the military. I think, do they still give out 1911s? Is that still their thing? Or are they doing the the 6 hour, P320 or whatever the fuck it is? Is that what they're doing these days? Inform me. I don't recall, Internet Money. I'm not going to use your real name. So, and then let's get this thing flipped around for the backside here. Oops, sorry, knocking things around. And this is the backside. My branding will be all over it, of course. So yeah, this thing's gonna be great when it's done. The only thing I'm a little bit bummed about is I probably should have left just a little bit more room on the bottom. I didn't realize until afterwards that I kind of split what I knew the difference was down here. Except for I need to put something on the bottom still. And that's going to be a challenge because I still want to have fascia on the backside. So this amp is going to be front loaded, which is to say that when you put the chassis in, so when you put the chassis into the amplifier cabinet, you put it in from the front and it seats against the back. So this is the back of the cab here, right? It seats against the back and then you put the fascia across the front, right? Well, that's how it's going to fit in there, but I still need a piece of fascia that goes across the bottom on the back, more or less just to make it pretty. But here is what we're up to with this thing right now. So let me get caught up with the comments because you guys are actually talking now, so this is great. It is 6 hour. I kind of assumed so. Is it the P320 or the 316 or something like that? I heard that the 6 hour, as nice as they are, is not as good as or as reliable as, our trusty old 1911s. Now, my dad is an Old West guy, and the very first gun that I ever got to mess around with, my dad had a kit build that he did that was of a 45 cal Colt, revolver. So it had never been fired. It wasn't, I don't know if it was meant to be a fireable weapon or not, but that was my introduction into guns, was this barrel that was yay long, like literally 12 inches long. I swear this thing was huge. And it had 6 chambers in it, and it was this, maybe it was 5. No, it was 5. I'm sorry, it was 5. But it was this ginormous freaking gun. And it was just like, oh yeah, that's freaking cool. And then he liked Westerns, and of course, as you grow up, you learn to like Westerns as well. And then you see the Dirty Harry series and all that fun stuff, and you're just like, okay, yeah, I'm all about this. Obviously, as I got older, I kind of gravitated more towards some of the newer stuff. So I have a Springfield, XD 45. That's kind of my thing. Mine's the tactical version, by the way. So mine's a 5-inch barrel. It's overcompensating much, but whatever. I wore mine down into a little nub, so don't you laugh at it. All right. But it's a killer shooter, by the way. I love that thing. And I haven't quite picked up a 1911 yet. Every time I look, I'm just like, man, it's so expensive for a gun that I'm really not going to fire for anything other than shits and giggles, right? I like to have more purposeful weaponry. That's kind of my thing. So I don't have an armory, if you will, of things that have specific jobs. I have, literally an armory of this does that job, and that's that, right? So, I've only got a few guns. That's all. But I still like them. Red Dead Redemption. I'm not a big video game guy. I was actually teasing earlier today with somebody about he's literally like a Zoomer, is what I call him, a Gen Z. So I call him the Zoomers. But he was talking about something, and I was like, dude, I was playing the original Nintendo when Rad Racer was still like the game, right? He's like, oh, you mean like the Nintendo 64? And I was just like, yeah, sure, when it was 8-bit. And he's just like, he didn't quite get it, but yeah, like he was that young, he didn't actually know that there was a release date for Nintendo. I remember the release date for Nintendo. I actually remember playing an Atari, like the original Ataris, on television and playing Pong and all that fun stuff. So I'm old. Don't get me wrong. I'm older than I sound, and I'm sounder than I look. Oh, snap! We got another player in the game. Welcome to the party. Yes. And that is the part that upsets me the most, is you're just now learning that this amp is a giveaway amp, and I've gotten 3 or 4 videos out on this thing. Like, imagine the odds of this, right? So I've got like 2,280 subscribers, whatever. It's piddlywink. It's people. I'm actually surprised that there are 2,280 people that actually even want to know what the hell I'm up to on any given day of the week. But 2,280 people, and there's 2 of you. I don't know what the math on that is, but we're talking like 0.1%, like maybe 0.01%. The odds are really, really small when you think about it. But right now, with the number of people whose name has been thrown in the hat, like your odds are like literally like 100%. I was going to do a video on the Hammond trannies. Like, honestly, any of the stuff that you can buy off the store today, if it's Hammond, Hayboer, Edcore, Mercury Magnetics, if you can find the old classic tone stuff, whatever, they're all great stuff. Honest to God, like, they're not that different. I did an A-B comparison between 3 different transformers once for one of my 18-watt builds. I had the classic tone, the Hayboer, and I have the Chinese pile of crap that came with the amp when I bought it as a kit, right? So 3 different transformers. I can tell you this right now. Interestingly enough, when you measure it out, the Chinese one is it measures out the best. It's the most, balanced, I guess, if you will, in terms of like, for output transformer. I'm talking about the output transformer at this point, but the output transformer, like you have the secondaries, and then you got the center tap for the secondaries, right? Well, if you measure from the center tap to one secondary or primary, excuse me, sorry, backwards, but from the center tap to the one primary and center tap to the other primary, you end up generally with two different numbers, right? They're really, really close, but they're two different numbers. The Chinese one was like spot the hell on. Like literally it was 10 ohms on one and 10 ohms on the other. That's a number that I just threw out of my butt, but literally it was that close. Like if it was 150 ohms on one side, it was 150 ohms on the other as well. Whereas most all of the Hammonds and all of the Haybowers that I've come across, it might be 100 ohms on one side and 110 on the other, or 110 ohms on one side and 115 on the other, right? Like they're always different, and that's okay. Like that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But interestingly enough, the Chinesium one was the one that was exact. Go figure. Yeah, right? Carno, come on. Like that's history right there. If you actually ever play the original Nintendo, you don't appreciate modern gaming. I haven't messed with Marin yet. I have to play around. I mean, I haven't had a chance to play with all of them yet. Realistically, so just to give you a premise on why I do things the way I do, is ubiquity. Literally, that's what it is. I want to be able to find the parts today, tomorrow, and the next week, and 10 years from now, and 20 years from now, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not trying to use parts that are about to be extinct. I'm not trying to use parts that are hard to find to begin with, like they're already extinct. And I'm not trying to find parts that are so bespoke that you got to go to some freaking speakeasy club in some third world country, and you have to know the nephews, nieces, uncles, brothers, sister, and the password that he had for his firstborn, I don't know, whatever, you name it, whatever. Like, I'm not trying to get that way. Like, I think it's kind of bullcrap when you start using these rare, obscure, off, like, it's just not normal, I guess, not ubiquitous, right? Parts to try to build an amp and, sell it as this extra cool whiz-bang tool that only does what this amp does. You have to have it. And yada, yada, yada. I got sucked into that a few times, and it pisses me off. I don't like it. It's bull crap. I don't need it. You don't need it. It doesn't do you any good, and it's certainly not helping, it just... let's talk about the Behringer and Bill Finnegan thing with the whole Klon Centaur crap, right? Supposedly, the diodes that he used in his Klon Centaur are like these rare and hard to find, yada, yada, XYZ. It's all a bunch of bull crap, right? He picked something that was odd, it worked, he made it work, and there's none left, right? Well, now everybody's made some sort of variant of this amp, or this, pedal, and now it's the next best thing since sliced bread, right? Well, Behringer comes along and finally makes a copy of it. I'm shocked they didn't do it 15, 20 years ago, but they finally make a copy of it today, and all of a sudden there's an issue with it, right? It's a crock of crap. It's really all there is. I don't want that kind of crap. Like, I don't want something that's obscure. I don't want it to be hard to get. If this thing does break, I want you to be able to go and find it easily online somewhere at a place that you and I already know of and will be in business for the next 10, 15, 20, 30 years, whatever, and maybe still is going to be available then. Now, the only thing that might be not available in 20 to 30 years from now will be the axial or the radial. I always get it wrong. It's the axial parts, the ones that go across like this and not vertical, with the pins that go out the bottom of it, right? Like, it's pretty likely that axial parts aren't going to be common in the future, but I kind of think there's always going to be a place for guitar amplifiers, so I'm hoping companies like F&T will always be around, but you'll always be able to find it, I think. Even Nishikon still makes the stuff. And even if they don't, it's adaptable. Like, this is an adaptable amp, right? There's nothing that crazy about it that makes it, where you can't just stick a radial cap in there anyway, I don't know. I'm not trying to be that guy. I think it's bull crap. There's nothing to hide. I'm not doing anything that's so original that I need to hide it from you. You can't steal it though. I'm going to tell you upright, like you shouldn't be taking my crap, but objectively though, I want, what do you want to, how do you want to put it? I want you to have the best product that you can possibly have without any doubt in your mind. And I want this to be something where when it does break, if it does break, and it'll be a long time before it does, but when it does, and you have to take it to somebody to work on it, they're not going to look at you and go, screw you, get this thing out of my shop. I'm not touching it with a 10-foot pole. A la Mesa Boogie, right? Like, there are a lot of shops that will not work on them. Why? Because they are such a pain in the ass, right? And they use a bunch of random stuff. Like, same with 2-Rock. They use 5 different resistors and capacitors in the damn things for no other reason than to confuse you. I can tell you right now, the difference between this one and that one is not that large. There's this one, there's that one, and the difference is literally that freaking much. And if you can hear it, you've got dog ears. And if you've got dog ears, then what the hell are you playing guitar for? You are in the wrong business. Literally. So, and I've got dog ears. I mean, I've been doing this long enough. I know the audiophile thing. I have dog ears. And there is a level of who gives a fuck literally built into the whole game. I have a rule. It's an evil rule, but I have a ton of them. But one of my rules is that a good sound engineer is one that can make 7 out of 10 people in the room happy. We're talking about 70% of the people, right? The other 3 can go fuck themselves. A la the standard, what would you call it? Sound guy attitude, right? It's true though. Like, when you come across the guy that can literally sit there and nitpick something and say, I think you need more bass, go screw a goat. Go suck a goat off. Like, come on. I don't need to hear it. It's in there. I know it's in there because if I were to turn off the freaking channel, I'm not going to do it because you'll hear it. I can hear it. I know that it's in there. You're just, what's your relationship to the guy that you're wanting to hear more of, right? I'm pretty dang good at what I do. 2 out of 3. Well, I mean, it's just, you can't make everybody happy, period. And when you're in a place of public opinion, you can never make anybody or everybody happy. Like, if 100% is just never it's a fallacy. So, if you can make 70%, you've got the 2/3 realistically, and that's mob rules as far as I'm concerned. So, you want to piss a sound guy off, tell him something he already knows and can't do anything about, or doesn't need to do anything with. And you never know what kind of directives that he's under too. Like, when you're sitting there going, it's not loud enough. Like, maybe he actually has like limitations to how loud he can actually get it. Like, have you ever considered the fact that if you want it to be louder, go closer to the freaking front where you can? Right? I'm kidding. I have good compression on here, so it shouldn't have clipped. I think I did. But you know what I mean? Like, and if it's too loud, then go back, right? Oh, but then I can't see him. Oh, well, then you came to the wrong damn show. Period. Can't win them all. Mm-hmm. I'm not a grumpy sound guy at all. So, yeah. Anyway, I want these things to be basically ubiquitous. There's nothing to hide. I'm not doing anything that crazy that's that unique and that original. Although I do have some ideas that are different and unique. It's just that there's no practical reason why somebody like Dave Friedman or, Mr. Fryette or even Mike Zayat, from Dr. Z fame would come onto my channel and look at my stuff and go, oh, I'm going to steal that and take it from him and claim it as mine, right? No, like, everybody's trying to go their own different direction. If you look closely at all of them, they all kind of do their own little thing, with the exception of a few. Dave Friedman, I don't think he hides at all that he's more or less just doing modified Marshalls that kind of have like the Jose Arredondo kind of thing, like those different kind of mods in there. He does have his own stuff, But I can tell you right now, it's just like JHS. Like, right? He finally admitted it the other day. Like, he's not the engineer. Josh is not the engineer that's actually designing these pedals. He has the idea. He's got the. I mentioned this in a video I did a long time ago, or a while ago, at least anyway, about, you know, why are amp designers so weird or something like that. And it's literally that. And I mentioned it in the video that it's extremely difficult to be really good at what you do, like to make an amazing amp, and be a really, really good businessman, and also be a people person. Like, you kind of wrap that all in. Like, to have all three of those characteristics are just next to impossible. You know, you're gonna be eccentric, and you have to be to really do something that's unique, different, and no one else has done yet, right? So you found this little box that only you fit into, and you can make that work, right? So that's point one. Point two is that you have to be personable enough to know everybody that can present your product for you. Three Monkeys is one of the ones that I brought up as kind of a primary, suspect. Like, literally, one of the people of Three Monkeys, or whatever the heck it is in Aerosmith. Like, he's the band member to Aerosmith. It's impossible to have that level of fame pushed behind a product off the get-go. And the guy that made that product to begin with was the guitar tech for the guy in Aerosmith, right? So you've already got two people that are basically closely associated. There's that. And then to be a businessman. That's like the last bit of the whole thing. Like, how do you become a really, really good businessman while also still being a personable person that can get the kind of fame behind it, the backing, if you want to call it that, and make a really, really cool product? To have those three things is like, you're talking the top 0.1%, right? So here we are with now Josh, as I was referring to, and Dave Friedman. Like, you've got these gentlemen that are the name that you talk about. They are not the engineers. They are the brains. They are the face. They are the people that have brought it to you in a way, but they're not necessarily the ones that are actually in the garage, tinkering around and coming up with it. Like, they have this idea. They know of it enough to get dirty, right? They probably actually did do it at one point in time. But realistically, they've got all these other little characteristics that come together that brings all that together into one point. That's the hard part. I'm going to say straight up that I don't have all three of those things. I'm not that interesting. I'm not that funny. I make a cool product, I think, but I don't have anybody to push it for me, so I don't know the right names yet. And as far as a businessman goes, like, I had one business that did really, really good for like 20 years. And then COVID said, fuck you, right? Well, I'm not that great of a businessman. And if 7 out of 10 businesses fail, there's no likelihood that this is going to turn into a full-time job for me. So that's why I have a day job. So there you have it. But I think we're about wrapping this up anyway. But you can kind of see, you've already kind of seen, this is where we're at with this guy right now. This thing is going to look freaking bitchin' when we are done. Holy cow, this thing is going to be beautiful. You can see all my nice straight lines. Look at how straight that is. I mean, it looks like it's going off the reservation over here, but it's actually not. It's very, very nice and straight. Yeah. I mean, this thing's going to be gorgeous when it's done. This output transformer was taken from a different amp that I had already built before. You can see this module right here. I didn't really put everything. So when we do the actual video of this for the series itself, the build series, you won't actually see a lot of this work being done in real time. There's just no point in it. Like, realistically, it cannot be done. Ooh, DJ, what's up? Tell Andy to get off his lazy ass and visit me. I watched his ass all day. He can come here and check me out for a few minutes. He's not making a video right now, right? So yeah, this right here is the module for the LED. You are going to have an LED light in this thing. You are going to know this amp is made by this guy right here. You're going to know. So this obviously is for the output transformer. I do the braid thing. I don't know. It's just my thing. As you can see, I like having nice straight lines with nice pretty curves. I try to put I use zip ties. I don't do the lacing thing. I think that's a little too much, but I have the output section completed. I have the everything is ready to go. I just need to actually build the turret board. I have to do the underside stuff. Now, the underside stuff I am going to do in real time in the video, just so you know how much of a pain in the ass this stuff is. Yeah, right. It's clean. Damn straight it's clean. All hand drilled, by the way. So this is all drilled out by hand, by the way. So when I got the chassis, the only thing that was cut on it was the hole for the IEC. So this is a square hole, but that was the only thing I had him do. Oh, and the mounts or whatever. It was just cheaper to pay the guy to do it than to have, than to do it myself. But everything else, all the holes for these guys, hand drilled, all the holes everywhere. All the little parts on here, hand drilled. Same with these guys. And I don't even know. I didn't even check yet. Oh my God, they're so straight. Oop. Sorry, we're bonking the thing. Let's see if I can show just how straight those things are. Oh yeah, those are fucking straight. So yeah, all hand drilled. And yes, you can hand drill things straight. If you take your time, you can really do everything really nice and straight. And you can see, like, everything's nice and straight. I'm more of a measure 5 times and then drill once kind of guy, but a la Andy style. I am not as brute as him. I don't stand over the top with like a 0.5 horsepower or a 2 horsepower drill and just but this is an aluminum chassis. I like aluminum chassis, but if you really, really put the effort in, you can drill things really nice and straight. That's me. I'm a perfectionist in that regard, so I really it takes forever to get to where we're at now. I haven't even done the math on it time-wise, but we're 2 weeks deep into this thing at least since I've gotten all the parts. I spent about 2 hours today doing some work. I spent 3 hours yesterday, and I spent about 3 hours the day before. I mean, we're easily, we're coming up on close to a week, 40, almost 40 hours total in time just on this. I mean, we're talking design aspect. Like, you got to think of the time spent making the schematic, making the layout, all that fun stuff. All those little things all just kind of add up. So we're probably 40 hours deep on this thing so far, and we have at least another. Yeah, we're getting to the short side of it now. I probably have another full day worth of work on it just to get the amp so it's playable. $2,000 on all the parts. Yeah, no, you can easily get that way with them. That's another reason why I'm not a huge fan of larger amplifiers. 100 watters and stuff like that is they're exorbitantly expensive to not actually use the power. This is one of those kind of things that, Andy and I kind of differ on. He likes the 100 watters and he relies, or 100 plus watters, and he relies, almost entirely on the preamp side of things. I like the lower wattage stuff. He actually admitted it today and talked a little bit about it and, kind of basically brought up that it's a difference in a design aspect for us. Like, he understands that I like power amp distortion and then yada, yada, yada versus him liking preamp distortion and stuff like that. And it's just a design goal. It's a video that I'll make sometime in the future that kind of goes over those different aspects and why you would choose one over the other. For me, I've always owned large wattage amps prior to this. I think I talked about it in the other live video I did, but I've always had larger power amps, but I've never had output section distortion until I got my little Ignator Tweaker 15 or whatever. It's still a pile of crap amp, but it was like one of those things where it was like, it was different. Like, once you got it there, it was different. And you're just like, oh, I kind of get it now. I like it. Right. So it like opened my door, if you will. And then finally, when it came to the point where I was like, I want to just build my own amp, right? that's where the 18 watt thing came for me, and that was the thing that opened all the doors for me. It was like, okay, I built the thing, I didn't like it at first, and then I simplified it down to as simple as I could possibly get it, which made it so it was literally only output section distortion. And holy hell, that was the difference. That was like, oh, that's what I like. And it's not that I only care about output section distortion. It's really hard to make the larger bottles distort with, conventional designs. They do, but it's really difficult to get the balance right. So the phase inverter is almost always 100% going to be a factor in the whole thing, right? And that's kind of where Matchless kind of picked up between the two. And I like Matchless amps. I'm not a huge Mark Sampson fan. May he rest in peace. But there's a lot of things that I kind of stole from him in a way. Borrowed. We're going to say borrowed because I do it differently. But I think he kind of found a way to make the phase inverter the focal point. And a lot of people don't know it. They all think it's all output section distortion. It is and it isn't. But more or less, I consider the phase inverter to be part of the output section. And the only reason why is because you must have the phase inverter for the output section in 90% of amplifiers. So it's like one of those things that cannot exist without it. So it's part of the output section, right? Well, there is a thing to it. And it's always going to be a thing to the output distortion that you hear, right? The JCM 800, same thing. By the time you start getting the output section to actually distort, which when I say output section, I mean the actual output tubes. By the time you actually start to get them to distort, that phase inverter is already running. It's already gone. Like the phase inverter is a part of the sound. And that's where I kind of feel like I'm floating that balance is that most of my amp designs are kind of allowing you to tilt the balance a little bit to where you can get phase inverter distortion first, where it's the predominant thing, or you can sort of get the power tubes to distort first. And that's the hard part because you have to make it so that the phase inverter isn't as much a part of the equation, which changes the sound of the amp, how it reacts, how it feels, all the above. Everybody thinks it's about the headroom, though. I'm going to you there, Otto. Like when you do the actual math on it, there's really not that much difference. Like when they say that there's only a 3 dB difference between a 50 watt and a 100 watt amp, it actually works out to a 6 dB difference in headroom. But it's a relative thing, right? It's just a relative thing. But most of the time, 100 watt is kind of the end of the line for guitarists. Like, when you start getting outside of tube amplifiers, 100 and 150 watts is kind of the end of the line, right? So by the time you get down to 50 watts, there's really not a whole hell of a lot different. And then from 50 watts down to 25 watts, again, there's really not that whole heck of a lot of difference. And then there's no point in even trying to split the difference between a 25 watt and, 1 watt, right? Or 5 watt. Like the difference isn't that much. A 5 watt amp is loud enough to play in a band, period. It is loud enough. It's just not going to sound clean. Well, would a 25 watt be clean then? Probably not. It probably won't be clean. But it's by design that it won't be clean. Most 25 watt amps are not designed to stay clean all the way up to 25 watts, which that then means that you only have 2 more stops along the way to get you from actually clean at gig level to superfluously clean at ungodly levels, and that's the 100 watt range. But it's not that it's actually superfluously clean. It's just that it's loud enough by that point in time that you don't want to be around it anymore. And when you think of like Stevie Ray Vaughan and his whole clean headroom bullshit, it's not clean headroom. He had a tube screamer in there. It was never clean. And what my idea of clean and what most other people's idea of clean might be 2 different things. When I think of clean, I literally mean undistorted clean. Now, I don't know when the last time you heard undistorted clean at ear-blistering levels, but most people haven't, and most people don't. So I don't know. A lot of people think it's about the headroom. There's realistically only 6 to maybe 10 dB of headroom difference between your 100 watt amp and maybe your 30 watt amp, right? So 6 to 10 dB, 10 dB is like double the volume, right? So maybe there's twice as much clean headroom. What does that actually equate to, though? Like, it's just twice as loud at that level. But that's to say that you get twice as much volume, all right, relatively anyway, for having clean headroom. It's not really worth all that much. It's really not, because most people don't like clean. They want crunch. Most people's clean to me is crunch, if you ask me. So I don't know. Like, if you listen to Riffs, Beers, and Gear, like, his clean ain't clean. A JVM. Well, so that's just it, though. That's my point is that most amps at about the 30 watt to 50 watt point, the clean is pretty freaking clean, loud enough. Like, it's enough to freaking not want to be in that immediate space. But, you know, when your idea of clean is crunch, that's a different story. And with these non-master volume amps, which a lot of them are that way, where you don't have a master volume, so it's clean until it starts to crunch. Well, a lot of the times, some of those, by the time you get to the volume you want, they're already starting to crunch away. So that is the litmus for clean is where it's as loud as you need it to be at the lowest level of distortion you're willing to live with, realistically. I was able to play with bands with a 15 watt amp, and I could get it just clean enough for me to call it clean with a 15 watt amp, which is to say that even with a 30 watt amp, it might not be as clean as I would like it. And that, again, is a me thing. So clean to me is clean, no distortion, and no grit, no crunch. Most people's idea of clean is crunch, which is to say that for them, getting that level of volume with that level of crunch is part of the factor of why they like these larger output amplifiers. It's just that, you know, when you start playing with lower wattage amps, you get there a little bit quicker. That's all. About twice the volume. That's really realistically all it is. It's 2x the volume. And it's only 2x by 10 dB. I am one of those types that believes that 3 dB is not enough to make or break anything. Like, most people can't tell the difference between 3 dB. So 6 dB is kind of like the minimum, you know, and that's like a boost for a solo or something in most cases. It's just enough to go from here to there, right? Well, imagine that with clean. Like, it's really hard to float that balance between clean and crunch. Well, most people are leaning towards crunch anyway. So when it sits here and the next step is logically just full on blown distortion, then that's all that's left, right? There's nowhere else left to go at that point. That is a me thing. Now, I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying everyone else is wrong, all right? It's all about me. And I'm kidding. I like clean. So when I think clean, I've already said it before, I mean clean. And if you actually measure it out with a full-blown 100 watt amp and a 30 watt amp, the difference is only about 10 dB. That's realistically what it is. And that 10 dB isn't all that much. So, and I'm talking literally clean. Now, if you like the crunch and you don't have master volume type stuff going on, well, then obviously the only way you're going to get where you want to go with it is with the larger amplifiers. So the other way around. If you don't want the crunch like me, then larger amplifiers is the only way to go. But I don't need that kind of volume. So anyway, this amp here is not going to be a clean amp. It's still a 5E3, so it's going to get pretty gritty pretty quick. If I get it the way I want it to be, when it is in its clean state, it will be the amazing glassy, crystalline clean type of thing. Clean the way I imagine clean to be. My intention with this one, as I mentioned before in another video, is that the crunch was the problem for me. It was the intermediate gain amount that was kind of a problematic for me, which is to say that once you got into the bluesy level of crunch or just, edge of breakup, it was a little gritty, a little spitty, and that is kind of a 5E3 thing. Maybe I just don't like that. To me, it was annoying. After going through and listening to literally 100, 200 different videos. It's a real show now, by the way. You're welcome. Listening to all these different videos, it kind of it showed to me that it's just a gritty amp and it does that thing that I was listening to, and I don't like that thing. So my objective is to try to master that and get the balance between that. And then when you gained it all the way up and you got it into Crunchville, full on distortion, it did the ZZ top sort of thing all in spades, right? No, it is not L amplification. Sorry, I didn't mean to ignore anybody. I'm not trying to. I need to work on my live game more or less. But the L, that's actually my signature. So that's actually my handwriting there. I just converted it into digital form so I can put it there. I am aiming. I don't have a company name yet, realistically. Luke amplification is one idea on the table, or Luke Geis amplification, or Lucas amplification, whatever you want to call it. I'm not Lucas, by the way. My name is Luke. But Luke amplification, that's what a lot of my friends are leaning towards. I want to go with legacy amplifiers or legacy amplification. Not to be confused with the legacy that Carvin makes. And that's where I get some of the pushback from some of my friends is they're like, Steve seems like a really cool guy on the surface, but he's kind of a dick. You don't want to fuck with that. Just don't even bother trying to go with legacy because you're probably going to find problems. I don't know that he can really mess with me because it's not the name of the amp. It's the name of a company, which they're literally separated. So I kind of feel like legacy is where I'm leaning towards, but I'm okay with, Carvin, exactly. So Carvin makes the legacy. They don't actually make it anymore. So it's not even a marketable product at this point in time, realistically speaking. So I kind of feel like I can run with legacy amplifiers or legacy amplification and be okay without fear of problems. Yeah, it's the name of an amp. It's the name of the product, not the name of the company. So I kind of feel, and there's only one other legacy amplifier out there, and it's literally like a car amplifier or something like that. And it's not the name of the brand, it's the name of the amp. So I don't know. No, we're not going Skywalker amps. We're not doing that. I don't really want to go with my name. I don't know. I'm torn. It's one of those things that's going to come down to a freaking vote. It's literally just like me showing my face. Every time I freaking go to do it, I sit there and go, nobody needs to see it. Nah, I can't do it. Whatever. And then I chicken shit out, and that's the end of that. I know realistically I'm going to have to show my face at some point. It's not going to happen right now, but I know eventually it's going to happen. If I want to take this to the next level, everybody's going to have to know who I am. And it's not like I'm hiding or something like that. If you really want to know where I am, you can find me. I'm out there. Right? And, I'm so damn good looking. It would just, come on. We don't need it. This is a sausage party. Let's keep it that way. It keeps it simple. We don't need all the girls swooning over here. Oh my God, it's Luke. We don't need none of that. I wish I was being serious. I am absolutely not, but whatever. So, I don't know. I have to come up with a decision at some point. More or less, the reason I'm not really selling these is that I don't have an actual company name and I don't have anything set in stone. Most of my amps aren't actually even in cabinetry yet. So there's that as well. This one is going to go in a cabinet. Don't worry, internet money. It is coming as an actual amplifier that you'd be proud to own. I shit you not when I say that this amp should be sold for $3,000 to $4,000. I'm not kidding. I've probably already, It's easily $1,000 in parts, if not more. I want to say on the low end, it's probably about $1,200 worth of parts all in. We're including the wood for the cabinetry, the plexiglass, the glass for the mirror. Again, stuff you haven't seen yet, but things that exist in my amplifiers. All in about $1,200 just in parts. And you want to factor in the labor and time. Like this thing here, this is the easy part for me. Building this thing right here, as you see it, is the easy part. It's the cabinetry, the shell or whatever that goes around it. That is the hard part. Holy cow. It is very, very difficult. Again, as a perfectionist where things have to be perfect, it's one of those things where I literally spend a lot of time making sure that every little hole I drill, every little cut I make is perfect. Because I hate mistakes. And on things where I can't go back, like it's very, very, it's one of those things for me. So, yes, this thing will have lights. There will be a mirror in the back. If you've ever seen any of my other videos, it kind of like the purple hazel is like the best example, I guess you could say. It's going to be very, very similar to that. And also the, you can see the shot of my 18 watt in a few videos. It's the one that's got the wood cabinet. It's all wood, but it has the mirror in the back. And, of course, it's got the L that lights up in the front. That it's going to have that. Like, it's going to be a full amplifier. It's not just going to be this. So we're going through all of that. We're going to show you how to build all that. Again, the idea for my channel is to show you how to do it from front to back. It's not just look at me, right? This is how it is done, period. Like, there's no hiding anything. This is how it's done, and it takes a fuck ton of time, all right? This is not an easy task. So anybody, there's only like 2 or 3 of you, but if anybody's listening, there's actually 26 of you watching. Holy cow. I didn't realize that. I'm not looking over there that much. There's only 3 of you commenting though. But it takes a lot of time. Let me tell you, it takes a lot of time to do all these little parts here. Like, these are all hand bent, hand cut. When Andy goes on and says it takes 15 minutes per wire, try like 20 minutes for me from front to back. Like, by the time I actually find the length I want, cut it, strip it, bend it, put it in the thing 3 or 4 times to make sure I'm happy with it, and then actually solder the damn thing in there, it's probably been about 20 minutes per wire. And there's a fuck ton of wires in here. When we're actually done building it, there won't be that many. It'll actually be pretty clean, but there's a lot of wires in here. All this stuff here, like, most of the work so far has just been in getting all this wiring done, and we're talking already a 40-hour work week just to get to this point right here. So these are not toys, okay? Definitely not toys. Biera, is that your name? Biero? I apologize if I murdered it. I appreciate that. You stumbled into this. Welcome. Thank you. And yeah, so this is a channel about learning how to build this kind of stuff here. So if you're into that, stick around. Do subscribe and, check it out. So, yeah, these things are not toys. Like, this is not something you just do for fun. Obviously, internet money, and a couple of you already know that this isn't just something you just do because it's something to do. There is money involved. There is time involved. So, if you want it done right, you have to do it. You have to do it all in. You have to go right. I wish I could read that. When I see your name, I just think of the Biera boys. The meat that comes in like the sauce or whatever. Like, that's what I think of. Like, it's making me hungry. Like, your name just makes me hungry. I want to go and get me some meat off of a freaking thing and all in like this soup, meat juice. Oh, okay. Hey, welcome to the channel. Wow, all of a sudden everybody's starting to talk now, right when I'm starting to wind crap down. the struggle is real with amp making. I'm not trying to make it look easy. This is not easy. It's to make things as straight as they are or as neat as they are and clean. Like, it takes a lot of forethought, a lot of planning, and not so much trial and error, because you can't do it 5 times. Like, you have to kind of get it right the first, maybe the second time. Like getting these wires right here to crisscross the way that I wanted them to. I ended up having to cut this wire shorter because it was just a little too long, right? And it still is just a little too long, but it's acceptable right now. Like these little things, right? And then little things like this right here where it's not quite even, like those little things kind of bug me. And you're just like, I want it to look like it's coming out like this one into that one, but you can't do that. Like it's not central. So how do you make how do you plan that out? The fact that this comes along right here and lands in this spot, like I'd rather it come over through here, but you can't do that. Like there's all these like little things that you're just like, well, this is how it has to be, right? So there's only so much you can do, and you can just see over here the bolts for the output transformer, and it might just be the angle of the dangle, but when you maybe if it's square, but I tried to center this up so that way you don't really see the bolts when you're looking at it from the top down. But you can kind of see here, it's not exactly centered exactly between here and the output, the preamp tubes or whatnot. So you're always like trying to find this balance between, aesthetically what is correct or best versus, what actually matters, right? There, I told you it's there, internet money. It's freaking there. Okay, so the difference is that you can't see it on your cell phone. Yeah, you can see it on the desktop, but you can't see it on the cell phone. I told you it was there. I'm not kidding. I'm not trying to hide from anybody. I am freely available. Oh my God. I'm such a busy mofo. So I have to go tomorrow to drop off some equipment. So I moonlight as a sound engineer still on the weekends. I'm trying to retire from that. Tomorrow I have to go and deliver some equipment to somebody that's got a show coming up for Solstice or whatever. So bummed because I didn't really want to do that. And then this weekend I have a show that I didn't really want to do, but they're like, come on, Luke, you got to do it. And then I got roped into another one for July 4th weekend. And I'm just like, dang it, I really don't want to be working right now. I keep getting roped into these gigs. Yeah, beer too. Yeah. Well, I mean, I love beer, but I'm just, I live in a town in Santa Barbara area, and we have food trucks. And one of our food trucks is the Birria is actually how it's pronounced, I believe. Birria. It's Birria or something like that. I don't know. I'm not Spanish enough to even try, so don't laugh at me, all right? But yeah, so we have the Birria boys around here is the name of the meat truck or whatever, and they make some damn good stuff. Like, it's literally, I don't know if it's pork or if it's carne asada or whatever it is, but it comes off of a thing, it goes into this soupy meat sauce, and it's freaking yum yums. All right, that's all you need to know. And when I saw his name, I was like, that was the first thing that popped in my head. Dude, you're lucky you got the freaking EVM12s. I'm kicking around making the purchase of those. So I have the cream backs. It sucks. When you get into doing this stuff here, where you need to know what it's going to sound like on literally kind of every ubiquitous system on the planet, you have to own a bunch of different, platforms. So I've got ported cabs, I've got, closed back cabs, I've got 2x12s, I've got single 12s. I don't even have enough of everything yet. And then you got to own greenbacks, you got to own, I like the G12 T75s, which are like a lot of people don't like them, but I think they actually sound pretty good myself. Creambacks, I've got the Celestian Gold. Like, you've got to own all kinds of crap. Like, if you think it's just oh, I like this design, let's make it, and then it's going to sound great. No, you're wrong. Absolutely wrong. You need to have a litmus to go through to see how this thing is actually going to react through the different cabs and the different types of speakers. It's a pain in the ass, let me tell you. So, yeah, I own probably 5 or 6 different cabinets, and they all have something in them that it works well for the cabinet itself. And then I play this amp through all of them to kind of get an idea if it's going to work, which, speaker is going to suit it the best, so I can make that recommendation, et cetera, et cetera. It's being a company is not easy. There's so much more that goes into the back end that most of you guys don't know. It's not just as simple as I have this idea, I'm going to build it, and it's just going to sound great. That doesn't exist. There's probably 3 or 4 parts at least on here that I'm going to have to change to fine tune it to something that's just going to work. And it's probably only going to work with the one cabinet, and it might be even hyper specific to the speaker or something like that. Like there are some amps that I have where it just sounds like an absolute dream on a creamback, but it sounds like Dookie on the the 30th anniversary G12H or whatever the heck it is. It sounds even worse on the G12 T75s, right? But it sounds great with the creamback. And I have other amps where it sounds like Dookie with the creamback, but it sounds great on all the other speakers I have. And I have some G12Ms in another cabinet as well. You just never know. You just never freaking know. I don't have the DV77. It's just impossible to have them all. And what I've learned is that the G12T75 is about the most neutral speaker there is. And when I say neutral, I just mean that it's frequency response wise, and in the cabinet that I have it in currently, which is a 4x12, and these are the 90s era ones too, so they're a little bit older, so they're well broken in too. It's just, it doesn't have too much bass, it doesn't have too much treble, and the mids are balanced, right? It's got its own little sound, but between those 3 ranges, it's pretty up the middle, right? It's just up the middle. That's not to say that it sounds good. Linear does not necessarily sound good. It just means that it doesn't really lie to you that much, and that is the important part. The CL80, I haven't heard that one yet. There's just so many speakers out there. There's so many cabinets. You just kind of have to pick one. And for me, I've got, a handful of, like I say. So between those ones and the Torpedo Captor X. Now, the Torpedo Captor X, as I've said in other videos, is kind of like the great equalizer. Classic Lead 80. I've heard of the CL8, yeah. One of these days. So the great equalizer, the reason I call it that is because it's the same speaker, same cabinet on whatever amp that you plug into it, right? So it just you kind of get an idea if it sounds good with this amp and it sounds good with the other amp and it sounds good with that amp, it's going to sound good for any amp, right? So I found that as kind of the best way to tell what these things are going to do when they're cranked all the way up. And that's the nice thing too, is that you can crank it all the way up and get an idea of what it's going to behave like. Whether or not the amp is going to be an out of control mess or not gaining enough, or if you're actually getting output section distortion, all this fun stuff, like all those little things that you can do with the Torpedo Captor X that you can't do with a cabinet in the room with you or with neighbors on either side of you, that sort of thing. So yeah, there's all kinds of different like little things that you have to invest in when you get into building these things for the future of intending to sell them to people, I guess. I don't know. I'd love to sell these things and make a full-time job out of it, but I'm not counting on that as a full-time career at this point. But if I got a waiting list, I'd certainly be pretty stoked. But I at least got one person that's on the waiting list. So when I first got these, the Seymour Duncans, you've seen in a couple of videos of mine, the Seymour Duncans were loaded with the Mesa C90s, whatever their popular speaker is. I didn't like them at all. They sound kind of like Dookie, to be honest, but that's just me. I don't know. I could be wrong. But I have them loaded now with the creambacks, the Seymour Duncans, and those suit it pretty good. My understanding is that these ported cabs that I have from Seymour Duncan, they're 90s era stuff, were originally loaded with some like K100s or something like that, some Celestion like K100s, which I can't imagine why, but heavy. But Fishman, there's just so many what ifs. That's the hard thing about also, trying to suit the guitar market, is that you got people that like the EMG 85s and the 86s and stuff, and then you got the guys that love like single coils, but they like the hot wound single coils, and you got the other ones that like the cooler wound stuff. Kim, this is an amplifier. That's what it is. How you stumbled across this, I can't begin to tell you, but obviously YouTube is doing something, because I'm shocked I got 27 people watching right now. 25, it just dropped. But whatever. Kim, welcome to the channel. You're just going to have to watch some of my videos and get an idea. Do like and subscribe if you do. But we here try to just show how to build guitar amplifiers. More bespoke, I guess, in a way, but I try to do really, really nice stuff. That's realistically all it comes down to. I lean towards Seymour Duncan myself. The Jerry Donahue Telecaster pickups that they got, they're in the custom shop now, I believe, but hands down, if you're into Telecasters and you want a hot, like spanky Telecaster sound, the Jerry Donahue series or offerings that Seymour Duncan has, hands down the best freaking hot, single coil pickup I've ever came across, period. I wire my own pickups, and even my pickup still isn't quite as nice as that one is. It does the thing. That's all there is to it. And mine is meant to be a replica of it, and it's pretty dang close. But it's still not the Jerry Donahue. So, yeah. And I do have an 8-string as well. It's loaded with the EMG 8s. I'm dating myself a little bit here. I got into 8 strings when they first became a thing and were first available. Like, literally, there were only 2 companies that had them. There was Agile and there was Schecter. And Schecter came out with an affordable model. I picked that one up. Shouldn't have done that. It was a pile of crap. It's a good guitar. It's a nice guitar. Don't get me wrong. But it's not like Schecter's other stuff that they have out there. It's a Diamond Elite series, and it's not their Diamond Elite series, period. It's an 8-string. It still has a standard size, the plate on the back for the neck. So it uses the standard size bolt pattern for a normal 6-string guitar for the bolt plate of an 8-string guitar. It's like that. It's 26-inch scale length, so it's not quite long enough to really make the low notes like solid. It's not like the modern ones where it's 30 inches or so, or longer than 26 inches anyway. It's not fan fret or anything like that. Now it sounds good, but it doesn't have the 808X series. It has the 808 series stuff. So the original EMG 8-string pickups in it, they sound all right. They're not bad, but I don't know. As much as I wanted to get into that kind of style, I was into the Deftones stuff, and I was trying to beat Deftones to their Diamond Eyes EP or album that came out. Was it Diamond Eyes or Koi no Koi? Koi no Akai or something like that. I can't remember which one it was, which came first, but in either case, I was trying to beat them to that punch, and they still beat me. Darn it. Yeah, I don't know. 8 strings they're hard to beat. I mean, Toss and Abassi of Animals as Leaders sure knows how to make them work, but I think he's even gone back to a 7-string. Am I not correct? I can't remember. 7-string, dang, okay. I could never. So here's a funny story. I could never gel with a 7 string. I tried a 7 string. I could not get around it. Picked up the 8 string because it was like the most highest number of practical strings, and I like the fact that it was tuned to like an F sharp or something like that. So I was like, okay, I can. As soon as I picked up the 8 string, it was like, oh, this makes sense. I can play that. Like it just duh. But when I pick up a 7 string, I'm just lost. Like that extra low note there just doesn't work for me. That B just doesn't hit. That is a me thing. I was into that at one point. I'm not there anymore. That poor Schecter has been sitting in my living room collecting dust for a long, long time now. Honestly, Schecter is hard to beat. They really are. They make great guitars. They all make great guitars, though. Really, they all do. The fact that most of them are as cheap as they are is bullshit. They should have never been that cheap to begin with. How they could ever sell a really nice guitar for $150 is just absolute bullcrap. We're just wasting the wood at that point in time. If you ask me, this is an unpopular opinion. This might come up as a test sometime, but an unpopular opinion, if you're paying attention, is that there is no guitar that should be worth less than like $300 to $500. Like, if you don't have $300 to $500 to spend on a nice electric guitar, then what's the freaking point? These $150 guitars are just trash. And the fact that they can sell something that is even reasonably good at that rate is just beyond me. At some point, they were even $75 for a little while. Like, that's just too cheap. We're just burning up wood at that point, and I don't appreciate that. So, I don't know. These days, if I'm looking at a guitar and it's not $1,200 or more, I'm really almost not interested in it. It's not that I'm looking to spend $1,200 on a guitar, but if I'm going to spend that kind of money on something, I want it to at least be worth it. And, I have another Schecter Diamond Elite Series guitar. It's a 6 string, but it's a killer freaking guitar. Killer freaking guitar. Ebony fretboard, 24 frets. It's got a Floyd Rose. It's one of the best floaters I've ever worked with. Killer guitar. And it's a $1,200 guitar when it was new, and it's literally worth at least that $1,200. It's not a veneer top; it's an actual top, all that fun stuff. But it's just one of those things where when you're looking at a $150 guitar and it looks the way it does, and to me, it's just a waste of the wood. Why? Looking for the 7th. See, for me, it's just so opposite. When I was playing them, that 7th string was just in the way. Pick up an 8 string, it was just like, oh, duh, this makes sense. I know exactly where I'm at now. I just needed the 8 string. I don't know. It's not practical. I don't play that kind of music anymore. Obviously, I'm not building guitar amps to take advantage of that. I am going to do what Andy wants me to do eventually. He says I need to build a high gain amp that's 100 plus watts, not a pussy amp as he calls them. I do have something in the works for that. The problem is that everybody's kind of done a 100-watt amp that's all high gain and yada yada. Fortin, Fryette, Dave Friedman, all of them, Engel, obviously, yada yada yada. They all have a freaking high gain amplifier, PV, etc., etc., etc. I'm trying to do something that's a little bit different. I'm not trying to be like the status quo. I'm trying to be the next step up, if possible, if there is a possible for that. I don't know. I'm not saying that I am that good. It doesn't matter if I am or not. That's not the important part. I'm just not trying to be like everyone else. I know some people kind of think, well, you're just doing, variations of all these things. Yes and no. It's a variation of it because there's no way to get around it. If you build an amp that has two 6v6s in it, it's going to kind of, if you put a Cathodine in it, it's a freaking Tweed Deluxe. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It doesn't matter what you do elsewhere. It's a Tweed Deluxe because you put a Cathodine in there with two 6v6s, right? If you build a 50-watt amp with 6L6s and you put, any number of cascaded gain stages in it without a cathode follower, you've just built a freaking Dumble or a Trainwreck or, something else that's already been built before. Classic 30, whatever, PV Classic 30, right? Like, you've done something someone else has already done. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's nothing that particularly unique about most of these builds out there. Engel and Fortin and all the other guys that are known for the higher gain stuff, they're really not doing anything that's all that different. Diesel, same. Like, they're all doing the same damn thing. They're taking one stage, cascading it into another, etc. And the only thing that they're doing different is a lot of interstage tone shaping. And that's the only thing that breaks them apart is, they use a 220K plate, and then they stick the freaking, capacitor around that plate resistor to shunt some of the highs out, right? That's what they do. And then they kill half the gain from that stage by using a grid leak that's, 100K or something like that. Like, there's so many, all these different ways, yada, yada, yada. And it's just not like all that unique. It's the same. It's just they use one less tube or one extra tube, and they have some slight different variation here or there to get them from point A to point B. I just can't do it. Okay. Okay. I'll have to check my emails. I've obviously, well, shit, it's getting late. I need to get to bed. I didn't expect to be on here this late. I told the wife, I'm almost done. I won't be long. I lied. I'm probably not going to get any tonight now. Darn it. You guys are welcome. So, in either case, I think we've kind of beat this dead horse. We're starting to lose some viewers. Nobody gives a crap about what I'm doing. Most of what I'm saying is bullshit anyway. It's just personal opinion more than anything. Obviously, I don't have any hate against like the high gain crowd or anything like that. It's just not where I'm at yet. I kind of feel literally like you got to start at the bottom. You got to get your basics and your fundamentals before you can start playing in the big leagues, right? And it's not that I can't build a 100-watt amp. It's just that if you can't make a 5-watt amp sound good, then how are you going to make a 100-watt amp sound good, right? That's literally it. Like, if you can't make a simple amp sound good, then how are you supposed to make something with all kinds of other crap going on sound good? I'm not in a hurry to get there. It's, again, not really where I'm at in my interests, I guess. There's a lot of companies doing it that are already excelling at it. There's plenty of high gain amps out there. There's a new one coming out every day, and Valhalla amplifiers are selling their crap for a 20-watt freaking amp that's basically an 18-watt Marshall for $15,000 or whatever the heck it was, right? It's like, come on. We don't need another amp company doing the same thing everyone else is doing. Now, I'm not saying I'm doing something that's all that different. I'm just doing it in a slightly different way. And when I say slightly different, I mean I feel that I am offering up something that's different, that achieves a different result than what most of these other companies are. If you go out there and you look at all the different 20-watt amps out there today, most all of them are going to be one of those very watt things where they use the freaking power scaling, and they're using just something that's very basic in terms of design that is the same as most of the other amps out there. I'm trying to do something that's a little bit different, where it is still vintage in its, I guess, basis, if you will, but I'm doing my own little thing with enough variation that there's no way to say that I stole it, and it does the thing. That is the big thing, is it has to do the thing. I will put whatever freaking resistors I want in there. The bathtub resistors, honestly, are not as bad as they're made out to be. In certain places, yes, they are not correct, but there is no way to get around them to do what you need to do. In most of my amp builds, where I don't really exceed 350 volts on the HT rail, not a big deal. When you're using them as a cathode bias resistor, again, of zero incident, because there's only 12 volts to 20 volts or something going across it, so not that big of a deal in that place. Now, when you're trying to, this is again one of those design differences that is personal to most people. So Andy was talking like how he likes to run his tubes at around the 90th percentile, which is to say that if the tube is rated for 500 volts max, you're running it right around 470 volts or something like that, right? Like right near the ragged edge. I'm on the other end of the spectrum, where the design center for that tube is probably more like 350 volts, maybe. So I'm shooting for at least 350 volts, maybe a little bit more, but closer to erring towards 350 volts. And the reason is, I need to get out of here, by the way, but the reason for that is I have a theory on the difference between plate current versus cathode current. When you run a lot of plate voltage, you reduce the amount of cathode current, which means the cathode's really not working quite as hard to do the same kind of thing, which means the plate's doing all the work, right? All the voltage, all the swing is done at the plate. It leaves the cathode behind. So you end up with this kind of offset skew, if you will, towards the plate doing the work. Whereas if you go the other way, where you starve the plate of voltage, you're making the cathode do a lot more work, which means the cathode is then doing all the work. Well, I feel that there is a magic balancing point, and I'm not saying it's based literally on the handbook that says that, this tube was designed to work at 250 volts, but it'll handle 500, right? So, I'll put something somewhere between 250 and 350 volts, right? Something like that. But there is a point where the cathode, the amount of work it does versus the amount of work that the plate does, kind of meets a point of like equilibrium. It's a theory. I'm not saying it is gospel. I'm not saying quote me. I'm not saying run with that. But it is a theory. And the idea and the objective behind it is that if you offset some of the load from the plate and introduce some of the load into the cathode, you come to this point where they're not working as hard, which means that you get more longevity, more life, and it does sound a little different. So, you get where I'm going at with that? Like it's an idea, it's a principle. I can't quantify it yet, and don't quote me, don't copy me. That is me. And I'm not going to give away the secret sauce on it exactly until I know for sure exactly what it is and can quantify it. But what I do know is that most of my amps are cathode biased. I kind of think it is the end all be all. It just does the thing. It does it in a way that it should work, right? I like the way it works. But with cathode bias amps, that means the cathode of the amp is actually doing a lot more work. And when you can get the cathode involved, it does things a little bit differently. And there is a point I have found where when you start to get kind of a 50-50 blend, there you have it. I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself. All right, you guys. I need to get to bed. I got to get up at 5 in the morning tomorrow. It's 10 o'clock currently, a little after 10 actually. So I can load up a truck and take care of some animals at my friend's house while he's away on vacation and yada yada and go to work, etc., etc. So I'm going to call it. I hope we learned some things. Internet money, I want to thank you, DJ Dross, Carno, all you guys, all of you. I want to thank you for sticking with me. I think this is the highest viewership I've had of any video I've ever made. I'm actually quite surprised. We got some new guys, Mr. Bedia. We had, oh gosh, I can't remember his name. We had Kim. I want to thank you guys, just everybody. Thank you for coming in. I appreciate that. And we're going to see you. No, we're not doing Russian EL84s. For this particular amp here, this is going to be 6v6s. I use JJ's. Sorry, I'll get this one out. I'll answer this question at least. I use JJ's. I kind of, so I have this thing, right? Like there's only 3 or 4 tube manufacturers now in the world, period. Like there's only 3 or 4 of them. JJ is one of them. EHX has like 3 or 4 brand names underneath them. There's Shagwong, and then there's what's that, PS Vane or Svane or whatever the hell it's called. So 2 of them are Chinese and 2 of them are Ukrainian or whatever, right? Russian, Ukrainian. So you got those 2. May the force be with you. So when you buy Ruby tubes, when you buy Groove tubes, when you buy Mesa, Fender, Ruby, I've already mentioned them, but when you buy a lot of these different brands out there, they are coming from one of those 4 manufacturers, period. And it used to only be 3. I'm just kidding. It used to only be 3 of them, right? PS Vane or Svane or however it's pronounced is recent, but it used to only be the 3 of them, which means there was a 33.33% chance that the tube that you bought that said Ruby on it or Tube Doctor or whatever the heck it was came from JJ or Electro Harmonics or Shagwang or whatever the Shangwang. I can't pronounce it. It's the Chinese brand, right? That's it, period. It was 33.33% chance, period. Well, I just kind of figure that JJ was the only one that there was no hiding. There was no secondary company to them. JJ was JJ, and anything else was anything else. Whereas EHX, they had multiple brands. They got Svetlana. They've got whatever they got like 4 or 5 different companies underneath them. And I did not want to deal with trying to remember who made what with them, this, that, and the other. Shagwang or Shangwang or whatever the Chinese company was, they did their thing. That was easy, right? But I didn't want to support China. I didn't really care for China. It wasn't that they're bad. They're actually quite good, to be honest. But it's just I didn't want to support them, so that was that. So that literally is what said, okay, JJ just is the only one because they're the only ones that make it simple for me. They're JJ. I know that they're JJ, and every time I buy a JJ, I know it's a JJ, period. I don't have to second guess whether it's a B stock or it came off the same factory line as all the other tubes from EHX, but this one was different, so they put a different name on it. Like, I didn't want to deal with that kind of crap. When I want a tube, I want it to be the same every damn time. Ubiquity. I want it to be simple and readily available. JJ is all of the above. They're good tubes. There's nothing wrong with them. Are they the greatest tubes in the world? No. Are they new old stocks? Don't give a fuck. They're not new old stocks, never meant to be, and you can't buy new old stocks 50 years from now anyway. They're not going to be around, right? So I don't care about that kind of crap. So they're not that, didn't care, don't need to worry about it, right? So it's all the things that I cared about. Readily available, affordable, and I know exactly what's in the box, period, every time. That's it. That simple. There's nothing else to it other than that. It's not that I think they're the best. Don't care. I know what I'm getting every time I get one. That's it. It's that simple. So that's all that you need to know about that. Like when it comes down to the brass tacks, I just want to know what's in the damn box. I don't want to have to think about it. Like, I'm sorry, EHX, you might own all the greatest names on the planet, but you've got 5 different brands, and I'm not trying to figure out which one is which and who made it and why you put the name on it, et cetera, et cetera. Like, you don't have 5 factories around the country. It comes out of the same damn factory. Put the same damn name on it. Just get over the fact that it says Svetlana on it or whatever. I don't care if it's Svetlana. I just care that it's a good tube. So, anyway, going back, JJ. There's a 33.33, maybe now only a 30% chance or whatever it is that any given amp in this country or in the world is going to have a JJ in it, period. And all of them seem to work just fine, even though it says Mesa, Fender, and Ruby and all that or whatever. JJ's fine. So, just so you know, JJ's a great company. I like them. There's nothing wrong with them. I've never had any bad luck. So, on that note, I want to say thank you guys. We'll see you in the next one. We'll do an actual video on this amp instead of just, listen to me yip yap about it and all that crap. So take care, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.